What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Record, a punk music podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Newman, alongside, as always, Ben Brennan. What's up, Ben?
Just trying to break down the barriers in my mind and also suffering a lot starting out Sekiro.
Yeah, good luck with that. And
I
also
beat
joining
one
us.
mini-boss.
What's that?
I said I've finally beaten one of the mini-bosses, so.
Nice. Keep chipping away at it. Also joining us, once again, Josh Feckety. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, guys? Betty White has died and nothing means anything anymore.
You know what? The internet, it's very sad that she's gone, especially just short of her 100th birthday. But
this is already going to be the most Alex thing ever, I could tell, because I heard the butt coming like 6 miles away.
Right. But the problem
this whole bag.
No. Nothing against her. No, it's the internet. The internet freaking out about, oh, how could 2021 take this person? It's like, dude, she's almost 100 years old.
Oh, I know, but that is a downer to be
it's
like
right
at the door,
but
and
I just
have the rug pulled out from you like that.
Dude, I just saw so many like Reddit posts and shit like that. They're like, how could this happen? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it sucks, but like,
yeah.
Fucking 100 years old.
People care way too fucking much about celebrities.
Well, their deaths. In most of the time, I agree. In this instance, I think it's because this is like a lot of people's grandma, you go over to grandparents and like I know so many people that watch reruns of the show with their grandparents and stuff. I think that's a big part of it, and like obviously nostalgia is as big of a thing as it's ever been in the history of things being things, but. Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's just like the familial connection, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So New Year's Day is the anniversary of my grandpa's death. And so what I have to say to that is grandparents die.
No, for sure. Also the most Ben response possible.
99-year-old grandparents die.
They do, yeah. Josh, is the main reason that you're upset because of Hot in Cleveland was your favorite show?
It is. It's that show I had a friend who would, as a bit, just insist that it was like his favorite show because he knew like it would get under my skin, and I was like, no, it's not. I would just start yelling at him, and it was that's my only fond memory of that show, other than Betty White being in it. It was not a good show.
I can't imagine it would have been, but Betty White was a treasure. She actually, she very, very much should be celebrated. But
very good person. Yeah. I just think people just melt
the internet,
down.
I don't know, man. I think the internet's also there's people just trolling for fucking internet points. How many likes and shit like that?
I would rather see this than like all the shitty things that people bring on the internet, though. I think
that's fair.
I'd rather somebody pretend to care than not care at all. I guess, which is kind of sad, but it's something, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that's a good point. Anyway, as you may have noticed from the episode title, this is not a mainline entry in our series, so we won't be covering any Fat albums in detail. Instead, we're going to talk about some other albums that we didn't get to talk about in Season 1, as well as our picks for our favorite records of 2021. As of this recording, it is January 2nd, 2022. And you're probably hearing this well past that time because of, we had to record everything ahead of time. So forgive us for not being very timely.
Yeah, we're hoping to release this around July 31st so that we can call it New Year's in July. I'm either Babe Ruth calling his shot or I'm more like Drew Stubbs.
You know what the good thing is, though, is we've got a lot of leeway either way because it's a punk podcast, and every single one of you listening knows what punk time is, and you know how punk time works. If this episode doesn't come out on July 31st, guess what? We're running on punk time. That's the way it goes.
You know what? That's a great.
I hate that shit.
To have
no, look, you're not going to find any defense of punk time from me. I fucking hate punk time. But if you need an out, we got an out.
Right on. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's talk about the records that we missed. On every episode of On the Record, we talk about records that came out around the time of whatever Fat Wreck album we're discussing, but sometimes we don't get the chance to talk about everything we want to cover. So this is our chance to just bring up some records that we couldn't get to but wanted to highlight. We've each picked 3 albums. I'm not going to totally stick to that. We can talk about whatever, but just 3 as a starter. And these were all pulled from the time periods that we covered during season 1, more or less. You can argue that the longest line was what's that, 91 or is that 92? Either way, these are records pulled from 93 to 95, which is where most of the records we talked about during season 1 came out. So that being said, who amongst you would like to start? You want to start with Ben?
Yeah, and let's I'll go
And we
first.
we can trade back and forth too.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe trading back and forth works. I'm gonna start with the earliest of the 3 records I picked, and that is Quicksand's Slip. I fucking love this record.
Yeah.
I feel like people that like Fat Wreck stuff, I don't feel like enough of them would like it that it would make sense as a rival record. Biggest problem with it though is that it does not sound exactly like in the ballpark of most of the stuff that we've talked about. So it would have been really hard to fit in. The sound on this, I think the best description I've ever read to describe it is fugazing, a portmanteau of fugazi and shoegazing. And that's pretty much what it sounds like. It's the kind of music that Fugazi makes, but way fucking fuzzier and way fucking heavier. So it's a great fucking album. Came out in 1993. You should all check it out if you haven't yet. Great stuff. Josh, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. One of mine is No Doubt Tragic Kingdom. Came out in, I believe it was October of 95. At the time, I would say probably my favorite band. I had heard just before this came out, MTV played I think it was the Trapped in a Box music video. They did like we're going to play every video we have in our vault kind of situation where it was like a full weekend of programming. And I was like just getting into, punk rock and finding that whole circus. And like I heard a little bit of ska and then like that. And I was like, oh my God, this band rules. Record totally won me over. Like I found out about so many bands from the liner notes. Like I remember seeing Gwen Stefani's MTV Cribs, and like Warren from the Vandals was naked in her backyard. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy from like this weird little band that like they're friends with. And it like kind of opened up a pretty big world to me.
Yeah, that's I have a difficult sort of relationship with Tragic Kingdom. But
I think a lot of people do. I think people either really love it or they don't care for it at all, really.
It has songs that do feel a bit almost like timeless in a way.
Spiderwebs off that. It's probably my favorite track.
Yeah, Spiderwebs was my favorite single as well. Just a Girl was the first one I heard, I think like most people, but yeah, Spiderwebs was definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I think Spiderwebs is the one.
Spiderwebs sounds like it could be on a Suicide Machines record at times. Like it's just got that kind of groove to it. Like it kind of feels like something the like lone ska song you'd hear on like Battle Hymns or something.
It was one of the first tapes I owned.
No kidding, that rules. That was one of my first like 3 or 4 CDs I think I owned.
It took me a while to upgrade to a CD player. That wasn't until 6th grade.
Sixth grade.
That's when you knew you became a man.
Yeah, I got a Jimmy Buffett Greatest Hits CD.
Oh God, what that is!
And then I went out
and bought a horrible prank somebody played on you.
I went out and bought Nimrod by Green Day.
Nice, I love that record. That time has, I feel like, looked a little bit better at that record now, but I feel like that record got a lot of guff from people.
The single it's a choice,
It's Hitching a Ride, right?
No, that was one of the singles. The single I was Time of Your Life.
Yeah, my 8th grade song.
Yeah, popularized by Seinfeld. That's the song that plays at the end of the Seinfeld. Yeah,
is it really?
Finale. Yeah,
I haven't seen the finale in so long.
Yeah, but
that's also a choice.
Well, I think that it was one of the major reasons why that song became even more popular. It became even more ingrained.
I don't know. Everybody loves a rocker with a soft side. I've seen the commercials.
Yeah, it's the song. That song's whatever. It's fine. But Nimrod is a good record.
Yes, it is.
Um, as for me, I want to mention Sugar's File Under Easy Listening, which came out in September of 1994. Um, this was, Bob Mould's band that he did after Husker Du and after doing a couple of solo releases. Um, he tried, when he tried doing his own thing after Husker Du, I just doesn't really work so well for me. So, he goes back to Sugar, and it's like it feels like a more logical progression from Husker Du, as it just sort of capitalizes on how fucking amazing he is at writing like guitar pop songs. Like it just like
Oh yeah.
amplifies everything. Like it just like turns everything up in terms of the pop elements. But also the guitars are amazing. And I will say, Copper Blue is a better record. Like it's not, it really isn't even close to me. But File Under Easy Listening is still really good and has some of, in my opinion, some of the best songs that Bob Mould ever wrote. Your Favorite Thing, G Angel, Believe What You're Saying, they're all fucking amazing songs. And the record overall is very good. But Copper Blue is better.
Yeah, I like both those records a lot. I don't think I listen to Sugar nearly as much as I listen to Husker Du. I listen to fucking Husker Du,
Yeah.
nearly perennially now at this point. But I will say, I don't think I've ever heard any of the early Bob Mould solo stuff. I've only heard the stuff that he's put out like in the past, was it 10 years or so? And all that.
It's a mixed bag.
I kind of, I mean, it's all right. It's not as good as Sugar, but it sounds a lot like Sugar to me.
Oh yeah, the later stuff, yeah, but like early when he does like a couple, there's like I think there's 3 of them before he actually gets around to doing Sugar. But like Workbook, it's there's some decent stuff in there. It just doesn't, I just don't like it as much. It's just not quite the vibe that I'm looking for from him. And I think he just wanted to do something very different from Husker Du after doing that band. Like, my God, they wrote so much music in such a short period of time. It's crazy.
What year did they finally break up?
It's like 91.
Jeez.
It's like,
They
well,
were
like,
around a while then.
So, I mean, 91 was when the live record came out, and that was the last release they ever had.
Okay.
So maybe it was 90. I'm a little
I thought
fuzzy
that
on
they
my timelines for that band.
I hadn't thought they made it out of the 80s. Like, I thought they because they put out 5 or 6 LPs, right?
They might not have made it out of the 80s, to be honest.
And I thought they put those,
that up.
yeah. Thought they put those all out, like, kind of just in, like, kind of immediate fashion almost. Very, very prolific band.
Very prolific. My God. I mean, they released, 2 records in a year with Candy Apple Gray and Flip Your Wig.
All right, back to me then.
Impressive. Yeah, back to you.
So I'm gonna go chronologically through these. So I picked a record that honestly I don't think I would ever use as a rival record. I think it would work for not this Good Riddance record, but maybe another Good Riddance record. And it would work for maybe the Strung Out record we talked about. But otherwise, and I don't think it would work terribly well for all of those, but this is 108 Songs of Separation. I got into 108 in college because they were playing Reunion the same time as Lifetime was playing a Reunion. So
it's the first time we met too.
That is actually, how Josh and I met in person was somebody from the Punk News site had asked me to pick up tickets to the Lifetime show for him. And then that whole story is just fucking nuts. The Hellfest is canceled thing.
Please go on. Please tell us.
Okay, so if you aren't aware, I think the last actual Hellfest,
what would have been
American one, got canceled like the day before it was supposed to happen. Apparently, the guy had not I don't know if he sold enough tickets or something, but he just could not afford to pay the bands, so the whole thing
So
fell
the
through.
rumor I heard was that like they shut him down last minute because he tried to like run a bare bones setup. Like he had like no security and like all these things.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah.
like he got shut down because like he basically just tried to like fleece all the people more or less. Like it was going to be like a scale back thing. Like there was no security. It was going to be like a mess apparently.
Oh god, that would have been a nightmare, especially at that time.
With Bad Luck 13 alone playing, it would have been bad to not have any sort of like security or something.
Right?
Like that's essentially like throwing a house destruction party in a fucking convocation center or whatever.
They had a riot the year before, right?
No, was it? Yeah, it was the year before because there was somebody was sending her. It was like a viral MPEG that was going around. Somebody sent like a compressed AVI of like a 12-minute essentially just war zone.
Yeah, that was probably one of the first like viral videos that I saw because that was the first time I had an internet connection that could actually download a video from the internet.
Yeah, that was like right at like the dawn of like cable internet becoming like common, like cable and DSL.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing got canceled. I was going to school in Philly, and my plan was to kind of just go from Philly to New Jersey and back for the Hellfest thing. So most of the bands, at least most of the punk and hardcore bands that were playing, got rescheduled to just play
Everywhere
shows
in the
Philly
city.
that weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah, everywhere in Philly and everywhere in Jersey was like a who's who of like all-star bands playing.
Yeah. So I saw 108 earlier in the day before we actually met up. They played a show with Betrayed,
that band
Good
was
Clean
great.
Fun, Outbreak, and Champion, which will scoot past there.
That is a lineup.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And they were fucking awesome. Just blew me away that set. Then they were even fucking better at night when they played with Lifetime. It was fucking insane. That show was awesome.
Yeah. Smoke Fire opened.
Smoker Fire opened up. It was like the 5th time I'd seen Smoker Fire that summer.
It's the second time I saw them that week. They had played Cleveland like 2 days before we left to go to Hellfest.
That was with Planes Mistaken for Stars, right?
Yeah.
I was at the Philly show.
I think the second time I saw Planes that summer because they had come to Cleveland like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So, that whole thing was a debacle, but I wound up getting super into 108 around pretty much after that. The live shows just kind of blew me away. And I love this record because at that point in my life, I was felt very isolated and alienated. And to be honest, as the name of the album might imply, like that's a lot of what they were singing about. So 108 were a Hare Krishna band that was a thing in hardcore for a while.
Long while.
Sort of is, but not to the same extent now, mostly just because I think the Krishna organization they were involved with, a lot of those people were involved with, turned out to be pretty scummy. And I think most of them have kind of distanced themselves from it since then. But it's so particularly at that point in my life, I'm like, oh, this band's like religious, what the hell? But like, if you listen to the lyrics and what they're talking about, it's things that whatever you believe, you can relate to. And if you learn about the kind of spiritual literature backing up what they're talking about, I mean, that was the intention, right? Is to talk about things that people are going through inside themselves.
Yeah, more self-confidence, less Kali Yuga.
So this record is phenomenal. It is very hard, heavy, and metal sounding. Their next record gets even more metal sounding. So it does not, it's a bit harder than anything Fat would ever put out. Sick of It All. Some other bands probably are in the same ballpark, but that's kind of where they fall.
But even if you know Sick of It All just from Fat, like their stuff's super melodic, so it's still way more aggressive, certainly.
Yeah, closer to what we talked about earlier this season, Scratch the Surface, maybe, or earlier Sick of It All.
Even now, the later stuff too, kind of going full circle.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I can't wait to talk about the album. was it Life on the Ropes was the name of the album?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one after Yours Truly.
I really like that album, and I'm excited to eventually, like in 10 years, get to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're fat. Like people dog on their Fats era a lot because it's like real melodic and like not as like it's not as New York, but it's not as metal, and like I still think it's really cool. Like it's a different side of that band.
Yeah. I mean, I strongly prefer first 2-3 albums material to everything
Yeah.
else, but those, they're not bad. It is kind of, the bummer seeing them live sometimes is that they've made so many albums since then that like if you want to go there and hear the hits from the early stuff, you may
You
not
gotta
get to
wait
hear
till
that
they're
many.
doing like an album tour or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Agnostic Front Victim in Pain tour, speaking of, was pretty fucking cool. Played the whole thing.
Do you guys remember the Vinny Stigma for President videos that went viral?
I kind of do, yeah.
It's real ridiculous. I just thought of it when you mentioned Agnostic Front because there's a part where he just goes, "Yeah, I grew up in New York. We used to do all kinds of crazy things. I throw bottles at trains. He's like, vote for me for president." I was like, well, I mean, he's got a point.
All right, Josh, tell us about your next record.
So my next one is Rancid by Rancid. From the album Rancid. No, the first Rancid album is one of my favorites. It came out in, I think it was May of '93. Just a crazy stylistic jump from where Tim was just a few months, even less than that prior with Operation Ivy and with doing Dance Hall Crashers very early on. That first Rancid record is angry. Like that's a bunch of super aggressive punks like just kind of going off.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good time. I mean,
they get you. It's too long. I'll say that up front.
You can say that about almost
every
record.
Yeah, yes, dude. I looked at this and I was listening to it as I was doing like my notes, and I was just like, I don't understand how this record is like 18 tracks with like 2 secret songs that I didn't even realize were on here for like half the time I own the album because it's so goddamn long.
That's probably my biggest gripe with it too.
Yeah.
It hasn't connected with me as much as like Let's Go and Rancid 2000.
But I will say, man, like when I put it on, that energy, even if it's just that first half of the record, like even if you want to make the argument it should be half the length it is, I wouldn't fight you on it. But the energy and the just the drive in that band at that point is super impressive right off the rip.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Rancid, all the early material, everything up until the early 2000s is really, really fucking great.
It's interesting too. I was looking at reviews and AllMusic, whoever was writing for them at the time. The last quote of their review was, "Rancid would provide the perfect soundtrack for any car chase that includes massive property damage. It's a wonder MTV wouldn't touch this." And it's kind of interesting that like 2 years later, the Ruby Soho video hits MTV and like they kind of explode in a small way post Offspring world.
Yeah, it's the the major label gold rush going into the punk scene.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah, and Rancid resisted it because I mean, guarantee they had people knocking on their door asking them to come make a record for a major label.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they resisted for a long time. But they Interscope eventually got them, right? Was that Interscope?
Yeah, but I mean, that was at that point. It was like Epitaph at that point was operating at the level of a major, anyways. Really,
it's true. Yeah,
or at the very least, not too far off.
They were operating like a major, very much so at that point in time.
Sure.
Like doing the types of things like major, like signing the types of bands I guess majors would sign, kind of thing. Because like, wasn't that around the time they signed From First to Last?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
because they were kind of turning victory at that point, where like whatever we could throw at the wall would stick. That's probably when I got drunk and called, and probably when I left him a voicemail, very intoxicated. I still have his number in my phone too, which I'm sure has long since been changed.
Wait, Tim Armstrong or Brett?
Brett. At a party once, someone who shall forever remain nameless gave me Brett Gurewitz's phone number, and I mean, I was real drunk, very, very, very drunk, and it was like right around the time they were signing "Set Your Goals," and I called him, and I was just like, "What happened to your stupid label?" I was like, "Your band sucks now." I was like, "You don't put out any good records." And I mean, I was in like my mid-20s, so I was like an angry young man. None of this should have even been directed at Brett Gurewitz, of all people. But I mean, it was like 2 minutes of just, your label puts out bullshit, your band suck, and I don't want to talk to you ever again. And then I hung up.
Oh, that's perfect, dude.
And then like a week later, I texted him and apologized because I felt so awful. And he goes, "It's okay, it's no problem." And then I go, "Hey, are you really signing Set Your Goals?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "That's awesome." I never talked to him again.
I mean, that was amazing that he actually responded.
So I found out like a week before the rest of the internet did that Set Your Goals got signed to Epitaph.
I mean, they did though. We'll talk about this, I think, probably a little bit more when we get to the top records of the year. But like, they've been signing a lot better bands in recent times.
Yeah, the modern Epitaph is very interesting at this point.
Yeah, Epitaph's definitely back on track from where it was in especially like the mid 2000s. It was like a dead label for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was like if Epitaph was putting something out, it was like a true toss up. But these days,
yeah, it was a gamble most days. Yeah.
Yeah, but these days you see them signing a lot of bands that a couple bands that defected from Fat even.
Yeah. It always surprised me that Anti was never a bigger label than it got to be. It seemed like that was an interesting opportunity for Epitaph to like put out really different stuff. And I mean, they did, but
they did. And I just don't think it probably just never quite found the audience. I think it'd be interesting to read something about the history of Anti and kind of what happened to it.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a really truly interesting and different kind of imprint for it.
Because weren't they even putting out like spoken word releases and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they put out. I mean, was it Anti that put out? Who was the spoken word?
I don't know if it was. I want to say it was like a Noam Chomsky thing, but I don't know.
I think they definitely put out Noam Chomsky.
They did. Okay. Moving on. Just to piggyback off of Rancid. Let's talk about Pinhead Gunpowder's Jump Salty. When we talked about Rancid's Radio single, we talked about how different things could have gone if Billy Joe Armstrong had joined Rancid permanently, which the position was offered to him. He didn't take it. And I think that was the right call for everybody involved. But on the flip side of things, Pinhead Gunpowder sort of gives us an idea of what that might have sounded like if that's how things had played out in my mind. At least to like a small degree. Like, it's not like, I'm not saying the Pinhead Gunpowder sounds like the true cross between those two bands, but it's definitely that kind of thing. And it's, Billy Joe Armstrong there's like at least one song where it really does sound like Green Day to an extent. But for the most part, the record doesn't really sound a whole lot like Green Day. Like, they're not really leaning on Billy Joe's ability to write pop songs, and they mostly go more in the direction of something like Rancid. And there's multiple vocalists. But this is just a really good record that, I think that anybody who's a fan of the Fat Wreck sound could have easily check out and really enjoy, without thinking, oh no, here's another, it's just like another version of Green Day or something. But I like this record. If you're into Rancid and Green Day, you'd probably like this one too. Ben?
Yeah, so as far as Pinhead Gunpowder goes, I remember liking, I think it was that record a lot when I was very young, and I don't think I've ever returned to it. So I might give that a listen some point soon.
Yeah, I definitely would like to go back to it too. It was always one of those bands that was referred to me in like a weird mythic way. Like, they were like, "This is Billy Joe's band before Green Day. Like, you haven't heard it. It's really good." It's like one of those records like your friend's cousin had, and like, you know, it was like the hip, like older dude who like clued you in on stuff. And yeah, I've definitely listened to it over the years, but I don't remember that it made a massive impression on me. But it definitely seems like something I need to go back to.
It's definitely worth going back to. It by no means is this like a record that you're gonna listen to like, oh my god, how could this have possibly gone like completely overlooked? Like, it's not that kind of record, but it's very solid. And it's definitely worth checking out if you like Rancid and Green Day, and you kind of want to see something that is similar to the cross between those two bands. Even though Billy Joe's the only person from those two bands that exists in that one. All right, Ben.
Yeah, so the last record I want to talk about came out in 1995. It's an EP only, but I think that there is particularly on this record, a decent amount of similarities, at least with what the sound that Good Riddance, the direction they head in with that. And so the record's Face Tomorrow by Mouthpiece. So Mouthpiece was a straight edge youth crew-ish type hardcore band from New Jersey. This is their final record. I don't know if it's their final recording, because they have one song that appears on the Antimatter comp, which comes out in '96, and just so happens that all three of the bands I picked happen to be on that comp, plus a bunch of the bands that we've talked about this season as well. So if you get a chance, check out the Antimatter comp. But this record it's kind of just fast, and it's a lot more melodic than what they usually do. So it kind of fits kind of Good Riddance pretty fairly well. I wouldn't think of using their earlier records too much with this. But in particular, the song Cinder, I think that a fan of kind of, golden period Good Riddance would really like that song. And it's funny because they made a music video for that song, and it looks like the type of music video a band on Fat Records might make. It's like them playing in an elevator.
Yeah, it's like isn't it the Biff Naked video? They're playing in an office, like in the reception area.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
There's a NoFX video where they're moshing in an elevator.
Is there really?
Yeah,
There is.
So that song and that video very much give kind of a Fat vibe to it, and they would certainly not be out of place, at least on this record, with some later stuff that Fat signs as well. So that was the last one. Check out hopefully all three of these, and check out the Antimatter comp as well, which is a '96 record. So
I can definitely. It's been a long time since I've heard the Antimatter comp, but I remember I listened to that one a lot. It was one of the comps that I really liked a lot. Like later on, when I was really into more of that style of music.
Yeah, in the pantheon of legendary hardcore comps, that's like way up there. There's like Boston, this is Boston, not LA. There's that. There's like the Rev In-Flight Companion and stuff like that. Those are all, the perfect like gateway records.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, what's the last one you got for us, Josh?
All right. Mine is the Bouncing Souls Maniacal Laughter, one of my favorite bands. This is their first, I believe the first LP, because everything before this was like just collections of stuff. But it's interesting to see a young punk band get to go like in the studio for the first time with a guy who has produced like Kiss and all these legendary bands in the form of a guy named Tom Wilson. There's stories of the band listening to mixes for this record next to like Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley on a couch, like while waiting to talk to Tom about their records.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's in the documentary. They talk about just hanging out with Gene Simmons. Like a limo pulls up and like Pete Steinkauf's like outside smoking cigarettes, and he's like, guy walks up and he's like, "Hi, I'm Gene Simmons," and Pete just looks at him and goes, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you are. You absolutely are." But like, it's just a great snapshot of like a really smart, clever young band. Freaks, Nerds, Romantics. I mean, Ballad of Johnny X. It's all like hard on their sleeve honesty and like just really young dudes having fun and like kind of living in the moment. And I feel like that comes across in a really, really strong way with this record.
Yeah. I I'm like admittedly not like the biggest Bouncing Souls person, but it's these first few that I think are really, really good.
Yeah, they've got a weird little charm to them.
Yeah, and Maniacal Laughter is definitely it's a fun record. It's very loose, and I think even I mean maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that I had read that they didn't have enough of the record written when they went into the studio. Like
I think they wrote about half of it in the studio while they were working on other stuff.
And that kind of comes through in a good way on this.
Yeah, it definitely feels like kind of like haphazard and patchwork, but like like you said, in a very earnest way.
Yeah, it has that energy to it. That's really great.
It very much feels almost kind of what it feels like to be a young punk kid listening to that record. Like,
Dude,
you can feel it coming through the record.
Sure.
I fucking love the song "Born to Lose."
Yes, it's really good. It's a cover of an old like 60 song or 50 song or something, I think.
I didn't know that. I just they do that song so well.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, Wikipedia credits it to a Frankie Brown, but thanks to Wikipedia, when I click on it, it takes me to the cricket player Frankie Brown. But not the soccer player Frankie Brown, and also not the musician Frankie Brown, so never mind.
Dang, there's a lot of popular Frankie Browns out there.
You're not kidding. It also sounds like an old 70s exploitation movie.
Like Jackie Brown?
Yeah, it's like a bad ripoff.
All right. So for my last record, and this is my favorite of the three I'm bringing, I want to talk about Seaweed's 4. I feel like Seaweed is a band that nobody talks about. And I have no fucking idea why, because this band, what do they do, like 5 records, and they're all really good. They're not a bad one in the bunch. This is my favorite though. And I think this is a really good pick for like somebody who is like, if you like fat music and you're like, look, it's like it's different enough. This is sort of I would say that Seaweed to me, I would describe as almost like, this is just like really simplifying things, but think Jawbreaker crossed with Sam I Am.
Okay.
But it is more, it's more like post-punk and indie rock infused with punk. But it's fast, it's melodic. Songs like Losing Skin and Kid Candy are just fucking awesome. This whole record is just incredible.
The singer has such a great, distinct voice.
He does.
It almost sounds like it would have like a Jawbox kind of vibe. I haven't really listened to Seaweed before, but just based on what you're talking about.
Yeah, not far off. Certainly. Okay. Jawbox comes across as a little more somber.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that's definitely the case. But yeah, this record is just, it's so fucking good front to back. But all the records are great. So if you like this one, you should absolutely check out the other ones too.
I feel like the people who know about Seaweed really fucking love them, but for some reason it doesn't spread. Because I remember, I think a friend telling me about him when I was like 18 or 19, and like I was listening to Actions and Indications and just fell in love. So
yeah, that was the last one in '99. And it has a really strange album artwork. It doesn't look like, doesn't really make any sense to me. It's just like, it's like a mostly like white space. It's got like a couple of like red bars on it, and then there's a graphic of a brain, and it's got a bunch of like, I guess I don't know if it's like kanji, Japanese kanji written on the brain. I don't know. It's a really odd artwork that almost looks fake. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, is this a bootleg?
Someone just made it in MS Paint.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some really strange album artwork. But they've got kind of like some weird artwork for all their records almost. Like Spanaway is like a really up close picture of like a lighter, and like in the background is someone driving a car. But 4 is like, I don't even know what the fuck 4 is. Like, I still don't. It looks like a piece of hair I don't fucking know what it is. But yeah, great band. I was really disappointed. Back in like 2011, they put out a 2-song single when they were reuniting and doing some shows, which unfortunately was not able to go see any of those shows. But this single was like 2 new songs, and they were fucking great songs, but they never did a record.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So, oh well. All right.
I could have seen that reunion show. At least the one that they did. I was strongly considering doing the one they did at Rainfest in Seattle.
Mhm.
And I was a poor grad student, and it was going to be a pretty expensive endeavor to drive up to Seattle and find some place to stay. And then I just was like, I can't deal with this right now because my life was very stressful at the point that happened as well.
Yeah. I remember when you floated the idea to me, and I was just like, oh, maybe I would totally do that, and then it just didn't work out. But oh well. Maybe one day they'll feel like doing another reunion. But that's gonna do it for the records that we missed. Now let's play a game.
I'm in. I love games.
All right. Well,
I've seen Saw.
it's not that kind of game, thankfully.
Can be.
So here's a new one for you. This one's called Title.
Game.
No. This one's called Title Fight. So we're gonna take 2 bands with songs that have the same name, and they're gonna enter the ring, and they're gonna fight it out to see which song gets to keep the title and which song has to change the title. And we're just gonna. Unfortunately, this first set, like I feel like this is like fertile ground to do a whole bunch of these. And this first set is maybe a little easy. Like I think in a lot of cases we're probably all gonna agree on these, but it's still I think like a fun exercise either way. So the first song we're gonna talk about is "Bombs Away," and it's Lagwagon versus Face to Face.
Oh, I know my answer right off the rip.
Yeah, go for it. Jump in.
It's not face to face. It's Lagwagon.
You are so right. It is not face to face.
Poor face to face did not stand a chance here.
No, they're not coming out the winner in this one. I'm assuming, Ben, you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, I didn't even know Face to Face had a song called "Bombs Away." For starters,
Bingo.
Appropriately titled, I guess. Take that, Trevor Keith.
Dang, that's harsh.
I hope if this podcast gets popular and he hears this, don't let him email me.
Well, he might get drunk and call you.
What a dick move that would be.
It's like, you don't put out any good podcasts anymore, you asshole.
And I'll call back and say, you are right.
So yeah, Lagwagon, it's the clear winner here. I mean, it's not even close in my opinion. So Face to Face, looks like you're gonna have to rename your song. And from after listening,
did Ben give his opinion there? I think we just left Ben out.
Oh no, I said Lagwagon.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't hear you. I was like, did we just leave Ben out completely?
Oh yeah, no, it was a no-brainer because I did listen to.
It was implied.
I listened to all of these songs, although I listened to all of them like over a month ago, looking at the date in my notes app. So the next part is to give it a new name, right?
Yeah,
I've got a great name.
So I wrote down a name. Just mine's not that great, but I'll share mine real quick. All I put down after reading the lyrics, which are just they felt very general to me. So I just wrote down, you should just rename it General Resistance. It's just like a very blah song about resisting things.
So I think because it seemed a lot like a Pennywise song, I said that they should rename it Bro Him.
Okay.
Just like general things about resistance. I also can't exactly remember why I said it, but I'm assuming it reminded me a lot of Pennywise. So.
Sure. Yeah, sure. You know what? That's fair.
I refuse to change its title. I just think we should put in parentheses the lesser version.
Oh, dang. The mark of shame.
There we go. In parentheses, the mark of shame. Just...
All right. Next song is Broken. And this is Strung Out versus Pennywise. And then I guess you could also say versus Bad Religion. But the Bad Religion song, in my opinion, easily beats these other two.
Yeah, that's
it's not even match. It's not even close. So we're gonna leave Bad Religion out of the conversation here, and we're gonna have Strung Out and Pennywise duke it out. And in my opinion, Strung Out also easy. It's an easy choice. Strung Out takes this one for me.
Yeah. As much as the first Strung Out, if I had to pick an early least favorite, that's probably my least favorite of the early ones. I still, we over Pennywise, yes.
Yeah, it's just Strung Out's song. It's just it has better everything, better lyrics, better more interesting structure to the song, cooler guitar solos. That's so much better.
Yeah, Pennywise at that point was just. I don't know if that was after Unknown Road. That's I feel like their most interesting record. Everything after that feels like they found out what worked and just pushed the pedal all the way to the floor.
You might say they went full speed ahead. Or straight ahead.
See what I did there for you? Oh, man.
I know.
You got so excited running down the sidewalk and you tripped on that one crack.
I'm not really a Pennywise guy, but more, if you're into Pennywise, that's great.
I remember really liking Unknown Road as well, but that was really all I was terribly
Unknown Road was the record, one of the few that really, along with Treasure Kingdom, broke punk for me, because I heard Sega had that skateboarding arcade game where you stood on an actual skateboard on a very dangerous mechanism. And the only thing on the soundtrack was that whole album. They must have just been hey, if we give you $6,000, can we put your entire album on this Sega game? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so the whole soundtrack of the game was just straight up the album. So I ended up going and buying the record after that. And it was another one of those ones that blew the barn doors off.
Yeah. Hey, at least it got you into it. That's awesome.
Right.
It did its job. If I was going to propose a new title for this Pennywise song, I would change it to Take It Like a Man. Because that's sort of the vibe I was getting from the lyrics. It's just kind of this very, just telling somebody to stop being such a wimp and man up is sort of what that song said to me, and not a fan of that.
It fits the vibe, because their whole thing was stand up and fight and take it on the chin, and it's always real aggressive South Bay California dude stuff.
Yeah. Moving
on. I would rename this On the Outside so that it can lose another title fight to No Use for a Name. Because it's one of the first lyrics of the song is something about being on the outside.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I would name it Punk Rock Dad.
Yeah, okay.
The song about the book.
The song about the book. That's in parentheses.
Oh, lots of subtitled songs.
Yeah, that's fine, Okay, now let's talk about Alone. And this is No Use for a Name versus Strung Out. Anybody want to offer an opinion here?
I don't know. I waffled quite a bit on this one.
Yeah,
this was harder. I went with No Use. I think that it was a better No Use song than it was a Strung Out song.
I agree. I also went No Use for a Name on this.
It was a tough one, but that's the direction I ended up leaning. I'm gonna end up leaning, I think, too.
Yeah, Alone is probably Alone was probably when we talked about it, I think Alone was definitely one of maybe our favorite song on Leche Con Carne, right, Ben?
Yeah.
It's a great song.
I'm gonna name it the Strung Out song. I think Sophistry was the name that I came up for it. Okay. So basically, kind of, it's all about being alone in your mind, and no, Sophistry was not the name. I'm a fucking idiot. I get these two words mixed up, I believe.
I was gonna say Sophistry is
No, I was
making
I
up a
was
bunch of shit.
I was going for solipsism.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay,
makes
that
more
makes
sense. Yeah,
I
that
always
would
get those two mixed up in my head, which is funny.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they missed the chance to go really highbrow.
I would name it Here Today because it's got a it's a song that like explicitly mentions suicide at least once, and it's a lot of obviously like talks about lonely feelings and stuff. And I've always been most of mine are just stuff they pull from lyrics because I've always liked just naming a song, bands that name the songs after like a line from a song or whatever. But there's a line in the song that goes, "I'm under pressure while I'm here today, but we only know the right words to say." And I don't know. I've always liked Jason's lyrics, and it just plays. Sorry. It just plays really well.
Yeah, yeah, Jason's got a lot of great lyrics for sure. All right, next up, Walk Away. It's Face to Face versus Bad Religion.
My guys are going 0 for 2. I'm sorry, Face to Face.
Yeah. So this is a Face to Face song that I really like, but
This is another squash match. Like Walk Away
is.
is one of the coolest Bad Religion songs ever. For as many like good hooks and grooves as Bad Religion has had over the years, that's one of the coolest.
Yeah, this is a great Bad Religion song. So definitely, I think they take it. Ben.
Oh yeah. It's who books this shit kind of is how I feel about it. Like this is such a disproportionate squash match.
Ben Cornette. How are you supposed to make them look strong when you're putting them up against face to face? They look weak.
I'm sorry, guys. I know that these are all very one-sided, so it makes for less of a conversation. But
All right.
this is.
Let's be honest. This game was
run.
designed to kick the shit out of face to face. Is what this game.
Sorry, like, hey, I
It's
mean,
been a running joke the whole season.
I really like Don't Turn
No,
Away. So
I just listened to that episode and we were fairly positive about it. There were
I know. It's mostly just me taking shots at him whenever I can.
Yeah, I like the early Face to Face records a lot. They're good. But if it was up to me, Face to Face would rename this song "I Don't Want."
Oh my god, yeah, that was almost exactly mine too.
I don't, so we all have variations of the same title.
I did Don't Wanna.
Oh, that's a good one. Don't Want. Yeah, I like Don't Wanna.
That's it. Well, then it's up against a Dead to Me song, which
then it can lose that one too.
It will lose that one because that is one of Dead to Me's best songs.
It 100% is.
All right.
Also, that the reason I picked that title was they would lose pitting them up against the Lemonhead song "I Don't Wanna" as well.
Yeah, that's true. All right, last one, and this is okay. So this is depending on the audience, this is either like not
it's a no-brainer one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is Radio, and it's Rancid versus Alkaline Trio. And all I'm gonna say is, as a person who has an Alkaline Trio tattoo, Rancid wins this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I don't have an Alkaline Trio tattoo, so it doesn't mean as much for me.
This is another tough one for me because I really do love both songs quite a bit, even though the Hot Water Music version of Radio is better than the other two. I'm gonna go with
an interesting take.
I'm gonna go with Rancid because my alternate title for Alkaline Trio's version would be Shock and Awe, but AWW. Because it just seems like a terrible Alkaline Trio modern song title, so I'm adopting it for the new era.
Okay. My proposed new title for the song is Razorblade Shits.
Much more eloquent.
I thought that they should name it The Airing of the Grievances.
I feel like somebody
so funny
on lookout.
Because you see what shirt I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a Festivus shirt as we record this.
Oh my goodness.
So that's just very appropriate. Wonderful.
Razorblade Shits sounds like a song on a Kung Fu Records band album. Like it would be a song on like a Kung Fu Records comp I would have gotten for $3 at Warped Tour.
You know,
And
I feel
it would
like
have been by some Swedish band I've never heard of that like opened for the Satanic Surfers.
yeah, I can see
Who
that.
do rip. Like the Satanic Surfers are great.
You know, I like to think Matt Skiba probably would. He probably would have given a song a title like Razorblade Shits.
100% he would have. He also would have given it a title like Shock and Awe.
Yes, he would have. Yeah. I say all these things with love. I actually just saw Alkaline Trio with Bad Religion a couple weeks ago, and they were both fantastic. So all the
Bad
love to
Religion's
Alkaline Trio.
Yeah, Bad Religion's always going to sound good live till the day.
Oh yeah. But like a lot of credit to Alkaline Trio, they did not play anything past. What record was that? The record that came out in like 2005 or something like that.
Oh, Crimson? Or
yes. Yeah. That's the one. They didn't play anything past that. So
that's where I tap out. Like
that's where a lot of people tap out.
I like about half of Crimson. Like I feel like Crimson's a really, really stellar EP and like a really bad LP.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mixed bag. But I remember, actually the ones when they kind of came back around to Epitaph in like 2010 or so. They had some good material in there too. So
was that like Agony and Irony and stuff like that?
No, that was the major label one that was. I thought was easily the worst thing they ever recorded. Really bad. Like,
was the Epitaph the one that looks like the American Nightmare cover, where it's like the heart with pills and stuff?
Yeah, okay, it was This Addiction.
Gotcha.
And then the one that came after that had some good tracks on it too. So
nice.
Yeah. Okay. You got? Oh, do you have a proposed title for this, Ben?
I already gave that, the airing of the grievances. But no, I was just going to say, since we're relating these to like early records we owned, one of the earliest punk albums I owned was From Here to Infirmary.
Hell yeah.
They were actually one of the first punk concerts I went. It wasn't like a real show. It was like an outdoor thing at Riverbend with Blink-182, Alkaline Trio, and Newfound Glory.
Oh, wow.
And that was like 2001 or something like that.
So that would have been like right before the self-titled, or right around the time the self-titled Newfound Glory came out. The one that like really kind of blew them up.
Yeah. They were definitely a gateway, and I think that the Alkaline Trio song itself is good, but yeah, much prefer the Rancid song
for sure. Okay. So that's going to do it for Title Fight, and I promise the next time I bring this game, we'll have some hopefully more difficult things to go, fight it out with.
As long as I can make fun of Face to Face, I don't care.
I mean, they've got a lot of very like general sounding song titles. So, the more general the title, the more likely that they'll end up on this list. Anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about our favorites from 2021. And we're not going to spend a crazy amount of time here because, there's a lot of records that come out. And we also didn't like stick to purely punk stuff. It's kind of all in the same arena, it's, at least in my experience in the past, like, I guess probably in the past like 10 years, I listen to less and less punk music. And I'm sure that that's probably the case for both of you. So at least my list is probably got like one record you could probably consider punk on it. And the rest is just sort of in that sort of vein.
Mine is actually, I think, probably the punkest of the bunch. Particularly if you're using a wider umbrella for punk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm the most punk.
I would agree with that.
Congratulations.
Okay, everyone, if you like this show and you're at the end of the season, you're listening to this, everyone should chip in $1 and buy Ben a trophy. We can get him some kind of punk trophy.
Oh, yeah.
A beer.
Well, the punk will have a beer. We'll get you beer, too. It'll come with beer.
I just like a 12-pack of High Life would be a good trophy.
Ooh, that is a good trophy.
So, which one of you would like to get started with your list?
I'll open it up. I have
Right.
a top 7 for the year because as I get older, I feel like I have a harder time finding stuff that really resonates with me. But I had 7 records that I had a really good time with this year. The first one I think we all share is the Turnstile album "Glow On."
Yes. Fucking love that record.
Recently on Seth Meyers, which how cool was that to see?
Really?
I really love Seth Meyers and the fact that like he does stuff like that. Like he's had a lot of comic book writers on in the past and stuff.
That's cool.
And to see like a hardcore band get to play, a show like that, TV show like that is wild, and it's just so cool. It's like the biggest possible culmination of like hardcore and non-hardcore places.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
Not quite the SNL, but
I was gonna throw out Fear on SNL is like
yeah,
a
that's
whole
the
nother
top.
fucking level.
Like that's the king forever. Like nothing tops that.
That was truly bizarre. A bizarre performance to watch.
Yeah. Another one I think a couple of us shared. I think Alex and I both have the new Bronx record, which is another great addition really to that band's canon. The last one I wasn't crazy about. I feel like this is a really good.
Oh, really? What? Really? Yo,
I
thought
maybe I have to go back to it, but I don't
Dude.
remember caring a lot for it.
Oh man, I thought Bronx 5 was like their peak. That was it.
I mean,
That was amazing.
Maybe it was 4 then. I'll have to go back because I may be getting them mixed up. But
Oh, I really like Bronx 5. I like it more.
I feel like I had a weird rut with them for as much as I loved them. So when the new one came out and I listened and loved it as much as I did, I mean, it goes hard. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
The new Angel Dust Yak, a collection of truck songs. Angel Dust, around the time I started listening to Turnstile, I got into Angel Dust in a big way. Like I had a lot of familiarity with them over the years, but
Are you TOI till you die?
see, I can't do it. I've tried so many times. I feel like I'm just missing something with Trapped Under Ice. But I mean that's been a record I've had a lot of fun with. The new AFI, they'll always be one of my favorite bands. The stuff they do these days doesn't quite hit for me in the way the stuff I really really loved did. But I'm never mad when an AFI record comes out. Like it's always like at the very least I enjoy it and I have a good time with it. If it isn't necessarily a Hall of Fame record for me, they don't all have to be.
Would you say it's the closest to? Is it close to any of the other records?
It reminds me of Crash Love a lot.
Oh,
it's got like
definitely out then.
Yeah, I like Crash Love, even if it does look like a box of expensive chocolate. Like it just looks like something you get like at the last minute on Christmas Eve because you forgot it's Christmas because work and the office, etc.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag too.
That shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it is, and I love it. Every Time I Die's new album, Radical. I think I'm probably the only one here who's a pretty big fan of that band. Another one where I feel like I was kind of out of step with the last couple of records, and they didn't do a lot for me. Kind of comes out firing pretty hard. Another good one is Heart and Lung, a local band from Cleveland. Album's called Twisting the Knife Away.
That's a great title.
It really is. Big, like, kind of Long Island-y, like Iron Chic, Latterman vibes, but like...
Oh, okay. I'll check that out.
A tiny bit of, like, Thin Lizzy, like, melodic, like, rock. It's interesting. A lot of backup vocals, which I'm always a fan of. The more backing vocals, the better. And my last one is a very under the wire entry. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago. Is the album "Goated" by 2 Chainz, his new album. I got into 2 Chainz really big over the course of like quarantine and coronavirus, and so now 2 Chainz is like one of my favorite rappers. I think he's super versatile. It's interesting to me how many people he'll have producing on a record, and every track sounds or every album might sound completely different, and his voice and his rhymes just completely it works. It's just it's interesting to see how like versatile the dude gets.
That's cool. I'll have to check that out. I've never really given it a chance.
I always kind of blew it off as like, I don't know, I mean it is silly, but I think I kind of blew it off as like the prototypical like what you see on movies and TV, like when they make fun of like extravagant rappers, and like it is to a point, but like I don't know, there's something else to it. I feel like.
The only thing out of that list I wanted to ask you about was make a mention about here is the Every Time I Die Radical.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of them musically, but they seem like a fairly cool fucking band in a
Yeah.
lot of other respects, and also a big fan of the Butcher.
Yes.
Of
Yeah. The guitar
the
player is in AEW.
AEW wrestler. I was going to then ask you, he technically, as of this moment, is not an AEW wrestler, but have you listened to the Brody King album?
No.
So Brody King has a band, like, sounds like fucking Marauder, called
What?
God's Hate. Yeah, the band's called
Oh,
God's
that's him?
Hate. It sounds like Marauder.
I didn't know that was him. That's crazy. All I
It
know
didn't
is
make my list.
the artwork is a samurai with a machine gun. It's the
So
greatest thing I've ever seen.
The
That's
record's
pretty dope.
insane. The record's fucking insane.
Have you seen it, Alex?
No, I haven't. That
Oh
sounds
my
dope.
god!
I'll check it out.
I'm going to draw while we're talking. I'm going to drop the image in the Discord so you can see it. But it's
All right,
it's
go
a
for
pretty bonkers album artwork, and they also took the artwork and put it on a pair of like board shorts. It's an own clothing with it, and it's an all over print. It's ridiculous.
Fuck yeah. I want to check this out. All right, Ben, let's hear from you.
Okay, cool. So, first, I think probably my only record that I would say is definitely favorite above all is Ikulu's Unscrew My Head on Cash Only Records. So they kind of have that New York hardcore crossover thrash sound that you might associate with a band like Leeway. Though the singer sounds a lot like the singer of Outspoken, who again is another band that's on the Antimatter comp, just hitting it all. So that record's fucking great. Another kind of hardcore crossover thrash band, but more of a West Coast vibe, Dead Heat's World at War on Triple B Records. It is just fucking fun. Their previous album, Certain Death, was also just really, really fun. So if you're more kind of a suicidal tendencies kind of guy or gal, that would be a record to check out. Then Fiddlehead's Between the Richness on Run for Cover Records. So this is, I guess, most notably, the singer is Pat Flynn from Have Heart. And the sound to me of Fiddlehead has always kind of sounded like mixing like DC Revolution Summer with No Idea Records type bands such as Hot Water Music and all the derivatives therein.
Yeah.
It works really well for me. I really, really liked this record. Listened to it a lot this year. Turnstiles Glow On, which we've all, kind of had some mentions of here, but to kind of elaborate here, I absolutely adore their record, Nonstop Feeling. And I thought that the second record, the second full length, Time and Space, was pretty good, but didn't really capture the things that I really liked about Nonstop Feeling. And I feel like Glow On really kind of actualizes that.
I would agree completely.
Yeah, I agree.
Next record is Regional Justice Center Crime and Punishment on Closed Casket Activities. It's fast hardcore, power violence, whatever you want to call it. It is fast and then very, very heavy. Great record, great band. And then to relate that to the next one, the singer of Regional Justice Center has kind of a post-hardcore band called Military Gun. And they put out 2 really good EPs this year that were both titled the same thing. So it's kind of like a LP released in 2 separate installments or something. I don't know. They're both called All Roads Lead to the Gun. One was put out on Alternatives label, the other on Convulse. Really liked those records. Hopefully, some of you have heard of Chubby and the Gang. The record The Mutts Nuts came out on Partisan this year. Absolutely fun. Super fast, super catchy. I think once saw somebody call them Burger Records Oi.
My God.
I think imagining a Burger Records band trying to play Oi is a fairly accurate description of Chubby and the Gang. Next one is the band is Quarantine. The album is Agony on La Vida es un Mus, which, despite having what looks like a Spanish name for the record label, it's based in London. And this record's fucking awesome. It's like knuckle dragging, fast, early 80s style hardcore in the vein of a Negative Approach or Poison Idea.
Ooh.
Also on that record label, a fucking phenomenal Oi record from the Chisel. So the record's name is Retaliation. You should absolutely go check that out, and then you should check out all of their earlier EPs and singles, because those are also very, very wonderful. And then one that's I think showed up on your list as well, Alex, Quicksand, Distant Populations. Fucking great record. I like Interiors a lot, but it did seem like in some way kind of a step more in the direction, or sounded closer to something maybe Rival Schools would do. And this is very much kind of the heaviness that people really came to Quicksand for on this record. So yeah, that's it. What about you, Alex?
All right. What was I gonna say? I was gonna comment on something.
Well, before you jump in, Alex, I'm going to show you this album artwork.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to hear your reaction.
I do need to see this.
If I can get it to send.
There
it goes.
Whoa. Okay, that's not quite what I was expecting. That's really cool.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Well, if you need a pair of shorts, it's on them.
That's kind of amazing. That's maybe not something I would wear, but fuck yeah, it's fucking dope. I love it. It's like fucking shooting a bunch of dragons and Oni. That's fucking awesome. I'm into it. I applaud that artist. That was good stuff. But Ben, what I was gonna say was, wait, is this the Chisel record? This is not the 3-song single they put out earlier, right? In 2020.
Yeah, the one with the tater tots on it. No, this is a full LP.
Oh,
and
shit!
They're not actually tater tots. They're something else.
I guess I just missed this because
it came out like at the very beginning of December, so it's a very under the wire recent edition. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm definitely gonna check that out. The other thing I was gonna say was that I liked Fiddlehead in parts. It had some stuff on it that I was not quite as into, but I did really. There's a lot of good songs on that record. So
that record came across one of my shuffle playlists recently, and I actually had to look it up because I didn't know who it was, and I was very surprised to find out who was involved. But the little bit I listened to, I probably would echo Alex's sentiments, where it seemed like there was a few songs I was super into, and a couple where they started to lose me a little bit. So I'm curious to get into the whole record and see where I land on.
Yeah. All right. So for mine, again, no order, whatever, I will say that Quicksand probably was my favorite this year. Really fucking great. Just so good. And I completely agree with you, Ben. This feels more like true Quicksand than Interiors did. Yeah, just definitely check it out. But aside from Quicksand, I really liked The Violent Hearts, Everything and Nothing, which was released through Dinner for Wolves. So I don't know if either of you are familiar with the band Sharks. They were kind of short-lived.
The name rings a bell.
They were around in it was like 2009 up until about 2014, I think is when they split. So they weren't around for very long, but man, they were really, I just really liked that band. And I've been patiently waiting for when those guys, some of those guys would actually come back around with another band. And maybe, I think I don't know if they all went their separate ways, but the vocalist, this is his band, his new band. And if you liked where Sharks was headed towards the end of their run, you'd probably like this record. It's maybe a little bit closer to punk and general rock stuff. But it's really good. It doesn't quite hit the highs of what Sharks were doing, but it's a good record. Next up is Failure with Wild Type Droid, released through Failure Records. So last year, my favorite record easily was Hum's Inlet, which is wall of sound, shoegaze meets alt rock, and it was just fucking blew my mind. Loved that record so much, and it does like a magic trick that almost no bands can do for me, and it's they write songs that are between 5 minutes to like sometimes upwards of 8 minutes plus, and it still holds my attention. Oh, like that just doesn't happen with like rock music for me.
That Hum record's great.
It's so good.
I like it more than the '90s Hum records.
Oh, easily, yeah. I wasn't a real fan of Hum until this record. But all that is to say, Wild Type Droid by Failure, it feels like the other side of the coin from Inlet. Like they really, like if you listen to these two records together, they feel like they're siblings, and like they take very different approaches to songwriting. You know, Hum has really no interest in giving the listener any kind of room to breathe, except for maybe in one exception. But Failure does, and you know, Hum favors like heavy and dissonant tones and grooves. It's real groove heavy. But then Failure is more of like has like a more varied approach, and it like kind of oscillates between being light and heavy. And then Hum is more droning and hypnotic. Failure is more variable and like ever changing. But it just they feel like they complement each other. And it's, you know, Wild Type Droid just has a lot of like really interesting songwriting. It's really fucking cool. So check it out. Also, this record, easily best album art of the year. Like fucking awesome. It's just like it's like a spacesuit that's like been like there's nobody in it, but like and like the helmet is open and there's like a parade of like tiny people walking out of it. It's super weird. It's really cool.
Yeah, they tend to have pretty cool, interesting artwork, I feel.
Yeah, they're like those guys are real into sci-fi. That's like their whole thing.
I haven't listened to it all the way through, but I liked the bits that I have heard.
It's cool. Next is The Berries, Throne of Ivory through Run for Cover Records. The Berries, I would say they've started to change a little bit. They haven't been around for that long, but it's sort of like like psychedelic folk rock and like the mixed with like the nostalgia tinged rock that Real Estate does. But it's like they combine all those things to like really great effect here. And this is actually like a B-sides collection. It's not like an actual album, but it still works pretty well as an album. But the front half of this thing is way better than the second half. But man, those songs that are on the front half of this, fucking gold. Absolutely incredible. Really great guitar solos. It's fucking great. Next is the Goon Sax, Mirror 2, released through Matador. This band, not on my radar at all. Had never heard of them before. Then I heard the first song on this record, In the Stone, and it just completely blew me away. I would say it's sort of like, this is definitely more of like a post-punk meets indie rock kind of deal. And they've got 3 different vocalists, and the only caveat on this record is that there are 3 songs, and this is all because of one of the vocalists. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work for me. I just don't feel like this guy fits on this record. Like he's singing really off key, and it has to be intentional. I have no idea why. But these 3 songs that this one guy sings, I absolutely hate. Just cannot stand. But the other 7 are really good.
So he's like their Matt Freeman, where like some people just can't do it.
Yeah.
He just comes out singing.
You could
like
definitely put it that way. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really cool record. Especially that first song. The first song, that's In the Stone, maybe my favorite song that I heard all year. Next was the Bronx 6. Yeah, it's like a really good rock and roll album. And I think that, you know, they've been turning out great records for a long time, but you know, I just appreciate that a lot of bands that do the type of thing that the Bronx does don't really have any kind of lyrical depth, but the Bronx does, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's amazing that a band can write songs like this that still feel like they have as much of an edge to them as they do for playing like just kind of aggressive rock. Like it's very easy to just become like a modern AC/DC, and like for as much as I love AC/DC, like they could have easily just churned out the Bronx 2, 3 over and over again, and like I don't know that people would have complained.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Next on my list is Shame, Drunk Tank Pink, released through Dead Oceans. So I would bet that most people, if they listened to Shame's first LP, Songs of Praise, and listened to Drunk Tank Pink, they would probably say that Drunk Tank Pink came first, because Songs of Praise is like way more accessible in a lot of ways. And most bands, they try to broaden their appeal as they make records, but not this one. I think this one of the things I like the most about Drunk Tank Pink is that just like it doesn't seem to have any interest in broadening their sound in any way. It's like this is definitely a post-punk mixed with punk kind of deal, and it's heavy on the post-punk influences. It's really interesting. It's a lot of fascinating experimentation with guitar sounds. It's really fucking cool. It's not like they completely abandoned their sound from the first record, but they definitely decided very deliberately which direction they were going to head, and I thought I was impressed that they decided to do this. So good on them for that. Next is the Muslims, Fuck These Fucking Fascists, through Epitaph. I mean, I saw this title and I was like, well, I'll listen to that. Why not? And it's like, and it just exceeded any expectation that I had. Like, I just didn't expect. I had no idea. I'd never heard this band before, and damn, it's a really fun record. And this is the only. I think this is the only like record on my list that I would actually call like a punk record.
Yeah.
It's probably the most punk of all the records we've talked about.
For a myriad of
Just
reasons, yeah.
purely punk, yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. It's so much fun. But it's like it's here. It embodies a lot what I think punk should be in 2021. It's blunt. It's in your face. It's completely real and honest about how like it approaches the socio-political issues that it talks about. But like the listener can still tell the band's having fun. They're writing these songs that are bouncy and catchy, but they still got this sort of like ragged edge to them. I would fucking kill to see this band do a basement show.
Oh yeah, that would be very fun.
It'd be really great.
And then I'd want to leave immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up late, leave immediately.
Go home and take a shower. See how many people were down there?
Oh yeah, watch out for that Omicron.
I love that Epitaph is putting out music like this because
hell yeah, man.
They've signed a band recently as well who has like kind of like a similar kind of like a very in-your-face message as far as a lot of the issues regarding race and class and stuff that are going on in America right now. And so they signed this band Soul Glow, which is I think it's a black hardcore band. There was this show I watched some videos from Philly where it was pretty much I think a show with just like I think all of the bands on the bill were like everybody was black or like a few, and so the whole point was to kind of really promote black people in hardcore because not it's been a fairly white thing. One of the bands on the bill actually has like a shirt that just says abolish white hardcore that like I think losers in Utah are getting really upset about.
Well, if anyone's gonna get upset about anywhere, it's gonna be in Utah.
So I thought it was pretty cool that Epitaph signed Soul Glow as well. The show and really lots of great show videos were found on the YouTube account Hate56. This guy he has been documenting shows. Like I just fucking forever, really. And he
Yeah, I
also
remember
makes,
Hate 5-6 clips when we were like in our in our teens and 20s. Like I remember
Yes.
seeing videos of his.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of bands I heard for the first time was because of him and because of the videos and the documenting he did.
Yeah, and he, takes old
And
footage.
still does, by the way.
Yes, yeah. And he takes footage from, I think, people across the country as well.
Yeah, he like
promote it as
touches
well.
it up and like cleans stuff up for people
And like some of the best live concert footage I've seen too, like for punk bands, mostly punk, hardcore, whatever bands.
yeah, like it's genuinely like professional level stuff.
That's awesome. Hell yeah, I'll have to check that out. And last two, I also have Turnstile Glow on my list. It's a fucking awesome record. And all I'm gonna say is, if you haven't heard this band yet, you will, whether you want to or not. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. The people I've talked to that like I would never in a million years expect to know who Turnstile is. Like friends I have that are into like almost exclusively like 80s goth and like new wave dance stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that Turnstile record." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like it's just reaching the craziest corners of culture. It's so cool.
Fucked Up did that too.
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly what I thought of. Was what was that record? Year of the Pig, when like it really kind of, or not Year of the Pig, the
David Comes to Life.
David Comes to Life, I think, was when
that was there was that
I
one
noticed
like
a bunch.
the one of like a shot of like a sun setting in the city, I think, or something like that.
Oh, that's Chemistry of Common Life.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That was the one I remember like hearing.
That's when it started for sure.
Yeah, that's the one where people I never expected to know who Fucked Up were. We're like, yeah, Fucked Up, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but how? What?
My cousin that only listens to like electronic music and like Jeff Tweedy shit, I think.
That is a hell of a pairing.
My office mate, who was like I think if he wasn't in his 40s, he was approaching them first year of grad school, also talked to me about Fucked Up. I was like, what?
Yeah, every old guy that had a skateboard now had a way to connect with every like young like punk guy that worked with him.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, fellow kids.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, fellow hardcore kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Glow On, this is gonna be the record that sends them into like the mainstream for sure.
Big time. I'm very, very curious where that band goes from here. So
Me too,
curious.
I do expect the next record to be on a major label, but I do not expect it to sound very hardcore.
This one was on a major label.
Yeah, Roadrunner's major, right?
I would like Roadrunner's the major like metal extreme music type label.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think of Roadrunner as major label, but I guess they probably are, yeah.
I mean, they had like what, Slipknot at one point, right?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna say mainstream major label, like you expect.
Okay, yeah. They might end up on one of those.
Yeah. Last record is Pardoner. Record's called Came Down Different, released through Bar None Records. This is another record that I would say is more of like got like a heavy post-punk influence. It's a lot like Shame and Parquet Courts, but it's more upbeat and melodic, and it's more like straightforward than Shame's record. But like this record was just like, it's really fucking cool. I had never heard this band before. They're out of San Francisco. And they're like the sound of the guitar tone reminds me of a band that you might have heard of before called Knee High. But that band hasn't released anything in a few years. But like the guitar tone is really similar. But like it's a really, really cool record. Definitely recommend checking it out if you like post-punk stuff. And that's gonna do it for my list.
I've got some stuff to throw on while I'm doing work then.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check out some of the stuff from your guys' lists.
100%.
Do you want to play a game?
Would you like to play a game?
That's gonna get on a soundboard at some point.
Yes, please make a sounder out of that. I'll be so happy.
Once I figure out how to like do it well, I'm absolutely putting together a soundboard for this.
I know exactly. I know exactly how you can do it too, because I almost bought something that lets you do that, and I might still buy it. It's called a Stream Deck,
Oh, sweet.
and it's like a panel of buttons, and you can program it to do whatever you want while you're live. It's for like streamers use it for like whatever. Like you can use it for
Yeah,
so
like
many
they do
different
like
things.
confetti and stuff, right?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So if you get one of those, you can make it real easy, and we can just
I'll literally spend a day just doing whatever voices you want me to do. Like I don't even
Please.
care. That'll make my day.
Please.
This is Lou. I'm sick of it all. We're gonna play a game.
There we go. That's all I need. All right. So one more game before we get out of here. This one me and Ben played a while ago on a previous episode called Maximum Obscurity. And so while I was a while ago, I was perusing the back issues of Maximum Rock and Roll, and I clipped out like a collection of reviews of obscure records that I'm going to read for you guys. And your job is to pick from multiple choice list of bands, which are all real, and decide which one the review is about. So I did not make up any of these band names. These are all pulled from the pages of Maximum Rock and Roll.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's this is a lot of fun to put together. So here's the first review. It's fresh to hear something that is too crude to sell, and even still, this one is different somehow, sort of geeky in a good way. It's like really bad Go-Go's covers with Darby Crash singing in a semi-coma, recorded on a cassette player from the high school library. Great sleeve story, too. I like it a lot, in case you can't tell by its description. Was this A, Mark Brody and the Beaver Patrol, B, Johnny Vomit and the Dry Heaves, C, Sir Bald Diddley and his Right Honorable Bigwigs, or D, Beautiful Bert and the Luscious Ones?
I'm gonna go D.
Here, I'm gonna post it into the doc here so you can actually see the names because they're fucking insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Beautiful Bert and the Luscious Ones.
The answer is B, Johnny Vomit and the Dry Heaves.
Johnny Vomit sounds like a stage name for a guy that idolizes Darby Crash.
Johnny Vomit sounds like a Sloppy Seconds song.
All right, review number 2. All-female Italian madness, heavy, fast, and mean. The B-side is a hilarious song about an irritating ice cream truck. This kicks your arse across the floor, so you better get it now. Is this A, Bobsled, B, Pussy Crush, C, Yeti Girls, or D, Velvet Pelvis?
I'm going with Pussy Crush just so I can say Pussy Crush.
I think it's D. The Velvet.
It's A, Bobsled.
What a dumb name for a band.
Yeah. I just love that description. All-female Italian madness.
It sounds like a description of a movie, like an old 70s Italian action movie.
Yeah. All right, review number 3. I thought I was in for the next shonen knife, but no. Instead, it's full-on, intense, bottom-heavy Japanese girl thrash. I don't know why American all-boy bands even bother anymore. Balls are a hindrance to producing great hardcore.
It's true.
Is this A, Killer Barbies, B, Romantic Gorilla, C, Guaranteed Ugly, or D, Idiot Bitch?
I think it's Romantic Gorilla.
I'm gonna go Guaranteed Ugly.
You're correct, Ben. It's Romantic Gorilla.
I've heard that band name before, I think.
That's a great
Yeah. All right. Review number 4. Imagine Cookie Monster singing for a bunch of heroin addicts. Full volume, the sound you would get from a drive-in movie speaker. Is this A, The Fuck Emos, B, Old Man Homo, C, Pissed Off Orgasm, or D, Satan's Pilgrims?
Pissed Off Orgasm.
What was A again?
The Fuck Emos.
Let's go with the fuck emos.
You're correct. It's the fuck
Wow, that is a terrible name.
Reminds me of the second time I saw Sworn Enemy.
Wait, you can't just let that hang. What do you mean?
Okay, so the second time I saw Sworn Enemy, they were like opening for Earth Crisis or something, and at some point there was a song in their set where the dude kicked it off by saying, "This song is about how much I hate emos," or some shit like that.
Remember when bands would say things like that?
Yeah.
Please don't beat me up.
So awkward.
All right. Okay, last one. Review number 5. Another band would have found something better to cover than The Cure. Aside from that, the record's pretty cool. Great lyrics like, "I would build a hoop so I could play basketball with the biggest raccoon I could find." And an ode to Chile.
Oh, God.
Sounds like a great record.
I know, right?
It's a Cure cover, too.
I know. I tried
It's love
so
song.
hard. You guys have no idea how hard I tried to find that song. I wanted to hear somebody sing the line, "I would build a hoop so I could play basketball with the biggest raccoon I could find." I had to hear it. I couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it. All right. Was this A, Jolly Ho-Hos? B, the legendary lawn sausages? C, drippy drawers? Or
Wow.
Or D, purple merkins?
Jesus Christ! These are all real.
These are all real. I swear to God, they're all
I hate
pulled.
that.
I know.
Drippy
They're all-
drawers.
That was gonna be my guess too.
Go ahead.
You are correct.
Wow, really?
Yes, drippy drawers.
Based on the things he was saying about it, it seemed like a band named that would write stuff like that.
For sure.
I was really thinking like you could be pulled away from that by the legendary lawn sausages. The legendary lawn sausages sounds
that's
like
a wild card.
They would write a song that had those lyrics.
That's for sure a wild card. You could pin any sort of song on a band called Larry and the Long Sausages or whatever.
Were most of these records actually like pressed vinyl records, or is these like people just sending Maximum Rock and Roll like the demo for the band that played one show and then broke up?
I think literally, yeah, they would take, if I'm not mistaken, they would take anything you sent them and like,
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that like a lot of these were like they're not being sent to Maximum Rock and Roll. They were people wrote in with their reviews of records.
Oh, okay, even better.
Because I don't think that the like, I mean, maybe they did have people that they always like took reviews from, but like how I don't know. I have a hard time believing that like all these people work from, or constantly contributing or whatever. Especially when some of them are clearly British, like somebody using the word arse.
Yeah, that's true too. I never even realized that was like a community source thing, but it makes complete sense.
I think it is. I think a lot of Maximum Rock and Roll is, sourced from the community because it's, probably weren't getting paid for it. I mean, how could you get paid for it?
Maybe the real payment was the demos we listened to along the way.
You got it. You nailed it. And on that note, that's going to do it for our first bonus fat episode of On the Record. Thank you, Josh, for joining us.
Thanks as always for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Great time. We hope to have you on for many episodes to come.
Absolutely. Whenever you'll have me, I'm here.
All right. If you have any questions, comments, or most importantly, corrections on anything we might have gotten wrong, please
Unless you're Brett Gurewitz.
Unless you're Brett Gurewitz, because,
we squashed that beef.
Josh already apologized. So
yeah, I'm just telling a tale, man. That's it.
Yeah. Let it go, Brett. Please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com so we can set the record straight in a future episode. And be on the lookout for season 2 of On the Record. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, everybody, for the support.